subscribing, and leaving comments.
I'm Kenneth Welsh. Welcome to Northern Mysteries. If we believe what has been written, giant hominoids, half human, half animal, are living, hidden within the vast forests on the west coast of North America, from British Columbia to California. In Canada, this creature is called Sasquatch, a native word that means wild man of the forest. Is there any truth in the legends of these abominable monsters lurking in the woods of North America? Some people are convinced of it.
In the fall of 1941, near the town of Ruby Creek, British Columbia, one of the Chapman children came rushing into the house, saying that a huge cow had just come out of the forest. Instead of a cow, Mrs. Chapman saw a creature that was 3 meters tall, covered in dark-colored fur, heading towards the house. They made their way along the banks of the Fraser River to the town of Ruby Creek. Mr. Chapman got home around 6 o'clock to find the house deserted. A 5-gallon barrel of smoked salmon had been emptied. Near the house, he saw footprints that were 40 centimeters long. Luckily, he found his family safe and sound, walking towards him. The incident drew the attention of Joe Dunn, who was a sheriff in the state of Washington. He was interested in stories about hairy giants. He made drawings and casts of the giant footprints, which would become one of the main sources of physical evidence that Sasquatches do indeed exist. In 1967, Roger Patterson and Bob Gilman took photographs which proved the existence of what natives refer to as the Sasquatch.
The film has been examined by a number of scientists, and they have claimed that this creature is in fact real, right? And then there have been a number of claims otherwise. But all of the work that has been done on it indicates that this was a natural Bigfoot creature.
Bigfoot to some, Sasquatch to others. The myth seems to be based on reality. Although the name of the creature varies, the description given by witnesses is invariably the same, regardless of where it has been seen.
The Sasquatch phenomenon is an intriguing one because they're encountered in just about every province in Canada and virtually every state in the United States. One of the great difficulties with the notion of them being ever present in all these places is the lack of physical evidence that they seem to leave behind.
As a wildlife biologist, I depend on footprints of mammals to determine the presence of mammals in an area. We don't see bears very often. We don't see the smaller mammals because they only come out at night. So we really rely on footprints.
One of the first written accounts comes from explorer David Thompson, who claims to have discovered a series of giant footprints on the snow-covered hills of a glacier near Jasper in 1811. And according to him, they were not made by a black bear or a grizzly. Since then, not all sightings of giant footprints have been worthy of reporting, given that certain pranksters seeking fame and fortune decided to create footprints themselves using giant wooden sculpted feet. Unfortunately for them, casts of the footprints showed a marked difference between a real footprint and a man-made one. Experts claim that the creature would have to weigh about 300 kilograms to leave behind such disturbing footprints.
In many cases, the casts indicate to us and the tracks themselves indicate to us dynamic flexure of a foot. They're also impressed at great depth, much deeper than human beings are capable of doing. You have push-up marks, you have a mid-tarsal break in a lot of the tracks and the casts, which indicate that this wasn't done by a human, because we don't have that kind of mid-tarsal break that occurs in a Sasquatch footprint.
There's a number of features in the plaster cast which show different aspects of the anatomy of the Sasquatch foot. One is the big toe, which is often abducted or divergent, pointing outwards, a very ape-like characteristic. Another, in very good cast in fine soil, shows fine lines, the actual dermal ridges, which we find in human fingerprints and footprints. And there's a couple other things like a crease across called a flexion crease across the ball of the foot. So these are things which the average person wouldn't know, most zoologists don't know about. So they are in fact very convincing.
Skeptics still abound. They demand more tangible proof than simple casts of giant footprints.
To this point, we don't have any Sasquatch DNA evidence, at least that has been revealed to me.
We have got scat. There are many people that have found it, and it looks like human scat, but it's much larger. Analysis has been done on some of it, and it has been found to contain rodent hairs and rodent parts. It looks like human, but it contains things that humans don't eat.
Dr. Fahrenbach has a number of hair samples that he has obtained from what we might call Sasquatch encounter sites that do not fit into the catalog of any primate hair that we know of so far. This is very promising. It's a first step.
If we were to admit that there are groups of Sasquatches living in the forests of North America, then how could we explain the fact that no corpse has ever been found to date?
We have very acidic soil in the Pacific Northwest, and we have a lot of carrion eaters, everything from small mice to maggots, larger predators such as wolves, coyotes, bears, whatever, that would pick apart a corpse in relatively short time and not leave a trace. I know experienced bear hunters who have never found a bear carcass in 30, 40 years of hunting. But in terms of the death throes of a Sasquatch, we know nothing about that and how they dispose of their remains.
We can't find the Sasquatch because nobody is looking for it. You've flown across Canada, you've looked out the plane, you can see that there's hundreds and thousands of square miles of absolutely nothing down there. There's nobody in there. There's nobody looking. So the first thing is, we're not going to find the Sasquatch until we go out and look. And that means an intense look.
Is the scientific community's lack of interest in the possible existence of Sasquatch due to a lack of hard proof, or simply their own prejudice?
So far, we're still saying things like, no, it must have been an upright bear, a bear standing on its hind legs, or else we fall back on the human hoax thing and dismiss it. I think that's very poor of us, and so I just keep working away. I think it's improving. The subject isn't going away, and my colleagues, some are coming around.
Sasquatch could be a completely new species, and somewhere in between the usual pongid variety and the human variety. I believe sincerely that the Sasquatch is closer to the human variety than it is the pongid, because people have seen the intelligence in its eyes, and almost as if it's a long-lost family member of the Homo sapiens tribe. But again, until you get one, until you capture one or you find one dead, the question begs to be asked.
American scientist Carl Sagan used to say, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof." Unfortunately, proof that the Sasquatch really exists has been flimsy to date. Nothing more than stories that could not be verified and a few footprint casts, but history is full of unexpected twists and turns. Just a century ago, scientists around the world claimed that mountain gorillas were nothing more than a myth. So who knows what the future holds in store? Most researchers studying accounts of Sasquatches believe that they are all that remains of a rare species that is on the verge of extinction. A few investigators even believe that Sasquatches might be aliens. When it comes to strange phenomena, aliens are often blamed for anything that can't be easily explained. For instance, there are claims that they've been playing mad scientist with our farm animals. Ridiculous, you say? For some, the idea is not so far-fetched.
If you're enjoying all this rare and unique content, please show your support by subscribing and leaving comments.